and blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, our friend Gary Michael join us, concerned Boise taxpayers. He'll be in studio talking about this proposed baseball stadium. But first, let's get to Holly in Caldwell, who's been very patient. Holly, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
How are you doing, Kevin?
Well, thanks for your patience. Is this my friend Holly from the Facebook
not a
group?
problem. I just wasn't walking around doing laundry waiting for you to get on the air. No problem at all. I normally call in about the Bundy situation, and I don't want to talk too much about that because I know you have Angie coming on here in a half hour or so, but unless you have specific questions on that. But I wanted to thank Mr. Labrador for bringing up the issues about pornography and to let parents know that pornography is a huge issue in our country. They need to be watching what their kids have on their apps. It's very addictive. In fact, we had the addiction recovery missionaries come and speak at our church a few years ago, and the statistics are staggering. It's addictive. It's affecting not just young men, but young women. And people just need to be aware of how bad that is. And that's really what's unfortunately changing a lot of the things that are happening in the media with all these stupid stories that really are not that important because there's so much other stuff more important going on in our country. But anyway, that's just wanted to share that.
Well, I appreciate that, Holly, but you and Barb are the people I'm talking about that and have never given up hope with the Bundys, have carried their cross with them while they've been imprisoned. So, I mean, believe me, I'm still part of your Facebook group. I get those messages all the time.
Well, it's unfortunate, like you said, that we don't have a free press and that the press is covering stupid things like still covering that President Trump shouldn't be the president, which is ridiculous. And the real issues going on in America right now are the violations of the Constitution and the Agenda 21 issues that are talking with land rights issues, which not only are going to affect public lands, but also going to affect private property use. There's some big issues going on. So I don't know if you have any specific questions you want to direct me on what you'd like to know. But
well, we're going to have to get you on at another time, but we're going to have Angie on, and we thank you, and we'd love to get everybody on. So if you can make that happen,
I'm glad she's coming on. I may call back in if there's anything I feel like she should add, but there's some amazing things coming out of Nevada.
Okay.
This has been a family that's been attacked, and it's not right. And luckily, a lot of that's getting unearthed. People need to go to BundyDefense.com. Their attorneys are on a shoestring budget, but they're making miracles down there.
They
donate to that. So,
Holly,
all right, thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Our great friend Gary Michael joining us, concerned Boise taxpayers in studio. The first thing he said to me wasn't hello, is, are you going to grill me? And I go, well, boy, I don't know. You're a lot tougher than I am, sir. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
You know, you have been a successful CEO in so many businesses throughout the Treasure Valley. How do you see the growth of your beloved Boise?
Well, it's absolutely stunning and amazing, and it's fabulous. And I think the important thing is to do it the right way. Take your time and make sure things are being put in the right place, and that we can still enjoy what we have. We don't need another really, really big city. What we need is the right kind of city and the right kind of living. And just for instance, I don't know, for 50 years people have worked on the river and the green belt and what it does, and I think all those things are fabulous. And then the private investment we've had in town is great. I would say, as an observer, the things in my 50 years in business in Boise that have really made a difference. There's a lot of them. We've always had great corporations. I think Hewlett-Packard coming to town was a great thing. I think Boise State becoming a 4-year university, even though I'm a Vandal, is one of the greatest things that's happened. And the success they've had and putting us on the map and what they've grown, they've done a fabulous job. And I also think College of Western Idaho coming into what we need, a badly needed space where we had, at the time I was with the group that started the initiative, we thought there was 13 to 15,000 underserved people for the community college, and I think we're going to get to 25,000. And so there are some great things that happen. So while we have the growth and we have the other things, we got to make sure that the infrastructure and the organizations that make that great, the university and CWI and all the things that surround this, are also great endeavors.
Are we managing growth correctly when we look at the entire Treasure Valley? All of a sudden we have traffic. All of a sudden we're building so much. Now, again, you own your own supermarket chain. You were the CEO of Albertsons. You started and you were running the Stampede, so you have known this valley for, as you've said, over 50 years. So based on your experience, the business, the public, the private sector, how are we doing on growth and managing it? Is it possible to manage it effectively?
I think that's a great question, and I guess if I knew the real answer, I could.
It's always better to ask the question.
I could help somebody, but I think what you have to guard against, and it's the same in business, and it's hard to do because City Hall and the county commissioners, those kinds of things change all the time, and so you don't have continuity of looking out, and so we make incremental decisions on growth, and I could just look at this end of town, and we got a wonderful institution here, St. Luke's. And I guess if somebody 20 years ago would have really thought it through and had some kind of grand plan, it would have been easier to do all this and keep the traffic right and everything else. But as it is, you kind of work in these short bursts and you incrementally grow. And so you have to really think through about, how long you can look out. I think we're doing okay. I mean, I wouldn't give anybody bad marks on it, but you would like a little longer look of where things should go and the impact things are going to have long range. And the St. Luke's, my wife was ill, and we went to MD Anderson in Houston, for instance, and his unbelievable. There's 47 hospitals and clinics in the same area, but it's been planned out so that the traffic still flows.
Sure,
they got sky bridges, they got tunnels, they got all kinds of stuff, and so I just think people need to think about that, and it's hard because, as I say, you get different administrations, you get different things, and people have different ideas, but I think we've done pretty well.
All right, Gary Michael with us. By the way, the phone number 580-5436, 580-KIDO. To our friend Philip, we're probably not going to get to you in a little while, but you're welcome to hold, or you can call back at another time. Sir, appreciate you calling in. I don't think you're going to be on the City of Boise's Christmas card list with what you and the concerned Boise taxpayers are up to. You might be on the Kevin Miller naughty list. Who's Kevin Miller? That's me. But
I know exactly who Kevin Miller is. But
about this new stadium, sir, everybody's saying, hey, it's great, but you've raised some very valid questions.
Yeah, I'd love to be on your Christmas card list. At 77, I never thought I would be kind of in this position of asking questions. But first of all, one of the objectives we had is to get people involved and ask questions. And I'm here today, and we've had stuff. And so I think it's great. I think getting people involved and asking questions other than just one or two people is a real win for us. I've been an observer of the city budget for a number of years and have asked questions and from time to time. And as the city's grown and making sure that's just what I do, I have a financial background. And so this led me to asking questions about the ballpark and public financing of stadiums. And then when you do the research on that, recently the Brookings Institute, which is kind of a left-leaning think tank,
sure,
just came out with a $3.7 billion number on municipal debt that's in trouble from just stadiums alone. We got the Marlins at $500 million, at maybe $1.5 billion. Detroit just announced problems, and then we've got Newark and a whole bunch of other small places. And so 2017 is not 1950 when baseball was America's pastime. And it's interesting in this project that the only vocal people we've heard are the soccer people. We've never heard about any baseball people. So we started out building a baseball stadium, and now we've got something else. I guess that's not my job to figure it out. But my interest is strictly in having our initial thing was slow down, take your time, look at it, get people involved, and make sure we're doing the right thing. And as we've dug into records requests and things like that, this really was a project we thought that was developed and pushed behind closed doors, and they were going to do it and kept saying it's a done deal, and that was concerning. We wanted people to look at it and have some input into it. I think it's the wrong location, but I'm not my backyard person. I think that I would tell the listeners that, and what we've tried to explain to people, this is a high-risk project. And any high-risk project with a city and the county or anybody like that's involved, when it doesn't work out, the taxpayers pay for it. That's just pure and simple. We think the revenue model is high risk. And the day I was going to testify at the auditorium district, Boise State pulled out of the project, which there's a big chunk of revenue. They've got 35% of the revenue from the professional soccer team, which I don't think they own a franchise yet. They might get it. That might all happen. But so there's been promises made on that, and then they haven't looked at the costs yet. That particular site used to be Quinn's Pond, and when they filled that up, there's concrete and cars, and I don't know what's in there. They don't think they even know what's in there. The water table's high. There's just all kinds of things when you start messing with a brownfield, something that's like that you could come up with. So we don't think they have a handle on the cost. So we just think there's risks in the project. Let alone we don't like the idea of public financing for it. I think the billionaire baseball owners, it was such a good business, would own the ballparks. They don't want anything to do with it.
Our great friend Gary Michael joining us, 580-5436, 580-KIDO, from Concerned Boise Taxpayers, talking about this proposed downtown baseball stadium. What about taxes in Boise? See, I live out in the hinterlands, a place called Star. So I'm where people run wild and free, but I feel sorry for the folks in Boise because you're hit with so many taxes. Now the city's just buying more land and such. Does there need to be, someone like you looking over the budget and saying, why not cut taxes in the city of Boise?
Yeah, well, the city of Boise's budget is over $600 million, but the general fund budget this year is $217 million. 2/3 of that is from property tax. And the rest of it's fines and et cetera, et cetera. So the city takes the full 3% allowed by the law, and then we got a appreciation in property here, so they're getting, they're doing okay. And in fact, they're building a surplus in the general fund, which I think is right. When you put all the cities side by side, there's a difference. Boise's kind of in the middle of the cities in Idaho. The cheapest is Star and Eagle in places. There's reasons for that. For instance, in Eagle, they have a quite a bit lower assessment on property because they don't have any public institutions in a big way that are sitting here not paying property taxes. And then their assessed value is going up. So they're doing pretty well. The Statesman published a couple of years ago, number 54% of the land in the city of Boise is exempt from property taxes. And so you got schools, you got Boise State, you got the hospitals, you got the federal government, you got the city government. Those are good jobs. There's reasons for all that. I wouldn't want to pick a fight with everybody on that, but I think you have to be careful. I think you have to be very careful. The city of Hartford's in big trouble. They build a stadium. They got over 70% with universities and hospitals in downtown Hartford. They're thinking about declaring bankruptcy in Hartford, Connecticut, which used to be the insurance capital of the world. So we're concerned about the blends. We want to keep things on the tax roll. And that Kmart property now, the old Kmart, where St. Luke's is at, where the proposed stadium is on the tax rolls now because St. Luke's has a private investor with them, and then it stays on the tax roll. They're going to move right over here next door to you, St. Luke's, and my understanding is there's a private investor there, so that'll stay on the tax rolls. What's wrong with leaving the other property down on the river, and there's people who want to buy it on the tax roll? So we have to be careful. I mean, as I said, I think Boise State's great. They add economic value. They add economic activity. They add dollars to it, and I understand why you do that. But you just have to be careful. We don't end up, and so just a few of us are paying for all the fire protection, all the police protection. And I'll just give you another number. The city of Boise, when the downtown, the original urban renewal district sunsets next year, the Boise School District will get another $1 million a year from that. Do you think they've been doing without that $1 million a year? No. It's going into the tax bill. Everybody else has had to pay for that in the meantime while they froze the values and the taxes on that urban renewal district. And so people just have to be aware of what's happening to them. And our tax levy is going down a little in Boise because of the downturn of 2008, 2009, and they had to raise the levy to keep things going. And I think they managed their way through that pretty well. And so the levies come down some. Somebody like Pocatello's got a really high level. They don't have high assessed values, and they got a lot of government in Pocatello, and they've got really high assessed values. So you have to keep the balance right.
More coming up with Gary. If you have a question, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And whether or not the city of Boise will build a stadium. Gary Michael joining us. Concerned Boise taxpayers. Kevin Miller in the morning, taking your calls. Let's go to Brian in Meridian. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. I drive by this facility every other day. It's called Les Bois. They used to have horse races there. They've got this, the grandstands are there with have concessions and restrooms, and there's plenty of land there. Why not transform something that's already there and remodel it into a baseball stadium or a soccer stadium rather than have to build something in downtown Boise where there's already traffic and no parking? And can Gary speak to that maybe? I know that Garden City and Boise may not be the same animal, but I'm just curious, why not just remodel something that's already existing?
Gary?
I want to tell you what, that's the best idea for the best solution for this whole thing. And you're right, that stadium, I think, could be remodeled, but the owners of the Rockies and of the baseball teams, they've got a great deal there. First of all, they pay $1 a year to the county for the lease, and they don't want to put their own money into a remodel. And Garden City is not going to raise their taxes to remodel that stadium and do it. So I think they've been very clear that they're not going to tax themselves to improve that stadium. They don't see the economic increase in economics that'll do it. And I think I think that just tells you exactly why you shouldn't do it. It's because they won't do it themselves. And as cities all over now are turning these projects down. The state of California, with a Democratic governor, just passed a law that there are no more municipal financing for sports stadiums. And so it's the greatest idea there is. We asked that question, and Garden City goes, "We're not gonna tax our people to put the stadium here. If they got a sweet deal now, the owners of the baseball team ought to improve the stadium." We think that's right.
Is that who owns that property, Gary? Is the city? It's Garden City, or is
it
county property, or who owns that? The Les Bois.
It's county. Ada County owns that. Yes, they own the whole complex. And it's ripe for redevelopment.
It's an eyesore.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Traffic and weather together at KIDO Talk. And let's go to Philip in Caldwell with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, Kevin. I appreciate being able to be on. And wow, what a bunch of great calls you've had in a row. That's just amazing. I'm so enlightened right now. But I got to tell you, I want to go back to Raul Labrador and what he said. You know, that to me is the real deal. The stuff he talked about was exactly why I believe we're here. We're here to improve, our ability to live morally straight and to follow our Heavenly Father's guidance and His, direction. And we're also here to help each other out. And we're here to, I also believe, learn how to live together in communities and not live under, I'm trying to think how to say this, sorry. Basically, not being directed on what we're going to do with everything, but to live under our own inspiration, if you will, through Heavenly Father, and eventually be able to live just right, with our own ability. And the only way we can do that is with freedom. And the fact that he talked about, limiting government, and he talked about family, and he talked about having that stronger moral code, and especially with people in office, I mean, that's just so important for our young people to have that kind of role model to look up to. We've had too many bad role models, in my opinion, and that was just awesome, what he talked about.
Philip, we appreciate you hanging in there. Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. All right, back to Gary Michael here, Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. So where do you think this stands? Can you stop them?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's hard to do. I mean, they hold the cards. They don't have to have a vote on creating the urban renewal district. It's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard. I just found out this morning that the developer's coming forward in January or February, where we're finally going to get the plan and some numbers, and so we've still got some hope, and we're working hard, and we like people to stay involved, keep asking questions, and keep that's what you're supposed to do, and we hope they do. It's worth the fight, and as I say, we've gotten people's attention, and I think it's hard, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. And then like I say, my kind of work ethic has always been, don't walk by anything that's wrong. And you do in the right way, you stop and say, hey, wait a minute, let's talk about this and let's figure it out. And this one just smells wrong to me. And the more I've dug into it, Bill and I and our group, we think there's violations of open meeting laws, which being investigated. Now, there's just things, and it was just orchestrated.
Well, if there is violations with the open meeting laws, who's going to prosecute it? I mean, the laws are only valid if people enforce them.
I'm not an expert on that, but I've become an expert. And yes, I don't think there's any doubt that there's violations. And but there's a 6-month period where you stop. We think the 6 months starts when you find out about it, and they say no, it's 2014, it's gone. But it's a weak law in Idaho. Why would politicians pass an open meeting law that they're going to violate and punish themselves? So I think the only remedy is you have to, if they find the violations, they have to go back and produce minutes of that meeting. There's really nothing you can do except, I guess, shame them. Stuff, but I don't think there's any doubt about it. And so those kinds of things are just very troubling. I mean, if it's such a good deal, why? I used to, when I was at Albertson, we used to say, if we're talking about this all the time, maybe we need a little sunshine in on this issue and make sure we're getting the right input and talk to people. And why you can't keep it, backstage. And this whole process was done. With just like we're going to get it done and ram it through. I mean, that's what it looks like, and I think that's exactly what they thought was going to happen. And
you're in the way.
And now we've got people that are interested. Yes.
Obviously, you'd welcome an open dialogue with the mayor and the proponents of the stadium, right?
Sure. Yeah, I don't. We aren't trying to make anybody look bad or anything like that. I don't want to get in the name calling. I don't want to do any of that stuff. But it does get emotional.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we've opened some dialogues with all of them. But
have they been receptive?
Sure. We just we mostly agreed to disagree. So, yeah. But it's been civil. Sure. Yeah.
Well, Gary, we'd love to have you back.
Sure. Well, maybe we'll have some news down the road. Thanks, Kevin.
Oh, no, you come back anytime, sir. And we'd love to talk to you about the days of the Stampede.
Oh, boy.
And certainly all the work that you've done here in the Treasure Valley, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning.
And we're waiting for Angie Bundy to call in about the release of Cliven Bundy, Ammon Bundy, and Ryan Bundy. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Big news out of Nevada yesterday that these folks are being released. And as I've said before, it's a God thing. It has to be when you have the incremental power of the federal government putting these folks away in prison for over 2 years and really no hope of getting out. And we've covered the stories of how they've been treated in prison and the like. And now Cliven Bundy, Ammon Bundy, Ryan Bundy, they're going to be free. And you take a look at just the emotional cost of this. I don't know how you can describe it. Joining us now to go over this is Angie Bundy with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Angie, good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, how would you describe this day, ma'am?
We are super, super grateful, super excited. We've been praying for this for a long time, and none of these men should have ever been put in jail at all. But we are so excited to finally start being reunited as families.
What has the past over 2 years been like?
It's been heartbreaking, actually. I've got 8 kids. Ammon, who's getting out, he's got 6. I mean, all of us have at least 5, that have had our husbands taken from us. And as any, good marriage will attest, Mom does certain things, Dad does certain things, and we do these things, and they make it work, and my dad, my husband's the really, really hands-on dad, and then just to have him taken. The best way I can describe it
is trying to push a handcart with one wheel. I mean, you slog through it. That's just all you can do. And Ryan, by far, is the better half of the relationship, and we've slogged through it. And, they're still not free. We still have a court case pending. They're still on a tight leash, but we are so grateful.
Angie Bundy, Ryan Bundy's wife, with Kevin Miller here at KIDO Talk Radio. Your husband was released a few weeks ago, and he is representing himself. That's a lot of stress, but through the power of God, he feels emboldened to do this. What's it like to be on the inside?
Well, it's just, it was nothing short of a miracle, and through the power of God. And it's been so good. My kids have acted better already. I mean, he's been on house arrest, but it's been such a blessing. It's been such a wonderful miracle. And honestly, I've got to be careful about talking about the case, but the whole case was built on lies. And I just want you to picture, if you were a part of these events that took place several years ago, and you're sitting in the courtroom, and you're, the most beloved person in your life is sitting there on trial, and you were there, and then they mention what happened, and that's not what happened. It's so hard. You can't say anything, or you're thrown out. And finally, we are shedding light on these lies, and we're starting to get the truth out. And I'm just so grateful.
Well, Angie, we're going to keep you out of trouble with the feds here, so let's just get back to what it has been like for you to keep your family of 8 children together without your husband.
Well, that has been, like I said, I've slogged through it. It's not been real pretty. I've had teenagers that have gone through their teenage crazy stuff and had dates, and my teenage daughters have been dating. I try to look intimidating when their dates pick them up, but I don't hold a candle to Ryan. Anyway, it has been my community, my church, and my family that have helped me through it. And I will never forget a phone call I had not long after Ryan's arrest. And I'm a proud woman, and I had a friend call me, and he's like, what are we going to have to do to get, keep you financially going? And I'm like, you're not going to have to do anything. Like, I'm a grown woman, and I will take care of my kids myself. And he went really silent, and he's like, your pride is going to stop you from letting people help you, and your kids aren't going to have a mother either. I was like, okay, so I did let my community help me. My husband's got heavy equipment. Some of the people in town were gracious enough when they needed a piece of heavy equipment to come take, rent from me. We've had people donate, the last couple of months, and I hate to even say this because I just feel so bad about it. My brothers have all pitched in and paid my mortgage, and I've been able to stay home and be a mom. And I'm grateful. I am so grateful for all of those who have helped me and allowed me to focus on my children and in their heartbroken state and just continue, But it has been so difficult. It takes a really good team to raise a child, and I attribute it to Lavoy Fitticum, the fact that Ryan's even still alive and he was still able to counsel on the phone. But most of the problems just had to be dealt head on with me, and with a lot of prayer and a lot of help from others, I've been able to kind of slog through it. But anyway,
Angie Bundy,
we're making it one day at a time. That's all we've done is just a day at a time, and it's been a miracle. Nothing shy of one.
Well, Angie Bundy joins us. Kevin Miller here at KIDO Talk Radio. What's going on in the lives of the families of your brother-in-law and sister-in-law and your father-in-law? I mean, I hear Mr. Bundy is going to stay in prison, Cliven Bundy, and then you have Ammon Bundy, your brother-in-law. He's going to be released this morning.
Right. And his kids drove all night. I mean, they've been praying for this for so long. So Lisa actually called him at school, got him out of class. These little kids, they prayed and fasted, and my little kids have gone to school fasting, and, the people in the lunchroom are confused as these little kids need to see the fruit of those prayers and fasts. And, I'm so excited for those kids today. Just so excited. They've needed their dad. And Lisa called, they just all cried, They couldn't believe it. When my kids were called last week, they thought somebody was joking with them. Their dad was going to get to come home.
Well, certainly it makes it a great year for Christmas.
That's all we want for Christmas. That's all we wanted.
Angie, it sounds like you have your hands full. A final question. Ammon, Cliven, Ryan, the others are not out of the woods yet. What do you want to say to get the word out here while you're on KIDO Talk Radio?
Well, they're not out of the woods yet. But like I said, the Lord is answering those prayers. So just keep praying for us. And I have one thing through all of this, and God does care about man's freedom. This has never been about cows. This has been about man's freedom. And if you stand for freedom, just like Mr. Lavoie Finicum said, God will stand with you. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, because it hasn't been. But if people just keep praying, then we will continue to see those miracles happen. I mean, we're talking about they just last week we're told they were too dangerous for society to come out, and the judge is finally starting to see the truth and the lies. That's a miracle. We're grateful for it. So thank you, and thank you for having me on. Sorry, I've had a distracted 3-year-old this morning, but thank you for so much for having me on.
Anytime, Angie, and as you know, you've got a great network of friends that keep the movement going, so anytime.
Okay.
Have a good day, ma'am.
You too.
Bye-bye. Angie Bundy joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio, repeating that Ammon Bundy, Cliven Bundy, Ryan Bundy have been released. Walt in Nampa, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Oh, good morning. You sound like you're doing good deeds this morning.
Well, it's been a while. I've missed you.
Oh, I doubt that. The Federalist, I don't know whether you want to get into this or not, but it follows along with what you just had on. The Federalist has an interesting article, which seems in the House of Representatives, we have 2 Republicans and Paul Ryan with Democratic Senator Patty Murray are all offering 3 separate bills that are going to infringe upon our personal liberties and our privacy. They're going to actually, if these all 3 bills pass, they're going to have records of what you did in grammar school all the way up until you die. It's unbelievable. I can't believe these bills are going to pass, but they probably will, because all these federal agencies would just love to have a piece of this information. They're giving all kinds of reasons why they should have it, but basically what you should get down to is I don't want them to have it, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners don't want them to have all this information. So anyway,
who's to say they don't have it all? Who's to say they don't have it already?
Well, they've got a lot of it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But this is ridiculous. I can't really believe. Well, I believe it, because for these people, one's from Michigan and one's from Indiana, so that pretty much, that decides why they're coming up with this stuff.
Sure.
But this is unreal. And if they want to call somebody and raise hell with them, and maybe get these bills dumped before they get started, it'd be a good idea.
What if they want to call and raise heck with you?
Why, probably me. What good am I going to do?
What's the name of the bills? Do you know that, Walt?
Well, there's 3 of them. There's the College Transparency Act, which is H.R. 2434. The Foundations for Evidence-Based Policymaking, H.R. 4174. That's an interesting title. Yeah, really interesting. And then we have the Student Privacy Protection Act, H.R. 3157. And that amends the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, which is U.S. Code 1232. And this is all BS. There's nothing more to gather information on you and me and your kids and anybody else they want to.
Walt, thank you for the call. Let's go to Tea Party Bob with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tea Party Bob.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Another great show. You know, I really appreciate you having Congressman Labrador on this morning and his comments on the crisis of the moral and ethical character of people that we've looked up to for many years.
You know, it's very unusual, and it's strange how things have changed in the last, even in Idaho in the last 8 years, that he sounds like an old school guy because he's talking about morality. And we don't really get that from our politicians or anyone these days.
No, in fact, we sometimes get the obvious. They try to obfuscate any issue that has to do with morality. We've seen that in our own legislature. You know, it's about time that these holier-than-thou media giants and sanctimonious politicians were finally taken down off their pedestals and shown for what they really are, a bunch of unscrupulous, pandering lechers using their power to attack unsuspecting women. You know, I'm sure there are many more that will be exposed as time goes on. It's about time there is some retribution for these past attacks on women. As I said the other day, we've lost our moral compass in this country, and maybe this exposure will set us back in the right direction as the pillars of society are taken down one by one. What's amazing is that there has been no mention of retribution for the management of the media companies who apparently have known about these problems and consciously decided to do nothing about them and allowed their abhorring behavior to continue uninhibited. You know, even worse is the fact that there are several slush funds available to our elected officials who use them to pay off victims for the abuses by the members of Congress without risk of exposure to the public. It's about time that these elected officials were exposed and brought to justice. They should all be forced to resign, but barring that, they need to be judged by the people who have elected them to office to make sure they don't run for another term or another office. You know, having been in the situation in my past history as an employer and manager, I have had to deal with these types of problems, and it's no easy task when it comes down to he said, she said. It makes it very difficult to get at the truth. Oftentimes, it's the people you least suspect of committing these atrocious actions against women.
Then the challenge is sometimes people are falsely accused. Now you have rap mogul Russell Simmons stepping down from his business after new sexual misconduct allegations. Again, you know, and I don't know where we go with this. On one hand, look, I was at the epicenter. I broke the story nationally with the Duke lacrosse case, what happened to those kids. And then you have Matt Lauer. You know, where is the barometer? Where is the moral compass?
Well, I think it's about time that we change that. We've tolerated these actions for way too long, and we've seen the obvious decline in moral and ethical standards. And it's time to change and get back to mutual respect and accountability for one another, regardless of gender. But whether that happens or not, it's going to be up to the public to enforce it by not electing these politicians back to office, by telling them they are not doing the right thing, and by turning off the media stations that have these, you know, illicit, crazy things going on behind the scenes. But until the public takes action,
but who's worse? Matt Lauer and his office, where behind the desk he has and we're not talking about, you know, some type of movie or Austin Powers where there's a button where the door automatically locks on his desk so he can philander or molest or whatever without being disturbed.
But remember, this is the same Matt Lauer that went after Donald Trump.
I'd like to see, as somebody said, I'd like to see the work order for that one.
Oh, yes. Kevin, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Well, if I don't see you, I'll see you Friday at the Idaho Chooses Life event.
Definitely see me Friday. I'll be there with belts on.
You're wearing a suit, I hear.
Yeah, actually, I might actually wear a suit.
Oh, maybe we'll match. One will be Laurel and one will be Hardy. You can guess which one.
There you go. I like that.
Tea Party Bob, publisher of the Gem State Patriot. Thank you, sir.
Take care of it, my friend. Be good.
Bye-bye. More of your calls next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Jim in Boise. Good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Hello, Kevin. I just want to make a quick comment on what the previous guy was saying about, I guess, personal information being input to computers these days. Well, anyway, I think it was yesterday I heard that some state, maybe it was Massachusetts someplace, some state revoked a doctor's license for not complying, not putting information on their computer network. And I'll tell you, I would go to her in a second. But anyway, I mean, I don't trust the medical establishment because, all this information. But some doctor just did not want to comply with putting all people's personal information on their computer network, and they pulled their license.
Well, Jim, thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio. We appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye. Quick hit. Conservative Steve, quickly on KIDO Talk Radio.
I just wanted to get it in context, Kevin, this whole thing about Judge Moore and all this. I'm in my 60s, man.
Sure.
My mother-in-law was married at 15. I think my mom was 17. In the South, that was not uncommon at all for young ladies like that to marry and date guys that are 7, 8, 10 years older than them because, number one, they were established, most of them. They usually had a job or a business or some kind of goals, and the young moms stayed home and raised kids. It was just part of the culture, which is nowhere near what it is now. I mean, that'd be criminal in these days. But there was a time that was totally normal. And if you talk to the old folks from the South, the old school people, that's nothing weird about that. Young ladies got out of the house. If they didn't go to college or continue their education, they got married young and they raised families like they had generations before them. So, the whole context, it has to be looked at, not just, oh, wow, there was a time where being 18, who made up that rule that you're legal at 18? That was just a law way after those days. So, you got to look at it in the context.
I agree, Conservative Steve. Having lived in the South, I can attest to that. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
All right. And he'll bring us home in 40 seconds. Ronnie from Caldwell at KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Hey, Millie, what's up, dude? I've been tuning on and off all morning, and you're talking about some secret door where you can hit a button and lock it, and where do you get one of those?
You'd have to ask Matt Lauer.
Matt Lauer's got one? What's he doing with it?
Well, he had one before he got fired.
I know, dude. He got fired for messing around with other women.
Other women that weren't his wife, right, yes.
I know. So can you tell me where, though? Do you get that on Amazon or something?
I'd Google it.
I'm going to do that right now, thanks.
How do you top that? Ray, great job. Appreciate you all listening. We'll try to do better tomorrow. God bless and keep the faith.